Our target audience is 15 to 24-year-old female youths, because our research shows that this is what is common for those music videos gathered in the pop genre. The music video will also have aspects that will be able to relate to our secondary audience, which will be 25 to 50, and they may have enjoyed Robbie's previous material and enjoy new stuff released from him. Our main gender is female because they will relate more to the lyrics and the narrative part. And Robbie in our music video is quite good looking and attractive, so again it could be female gaze. But also a little bit of our audience will be male, because people might aspire to be Robbie and want to get the girl and be in love, so might relate to that in some sort of aspect. We got feedback from various different sources. For all of our rough cuts we showed it to the class, which is the same age range as our primary audience, and got a session of feedback. They also are media students, so know exactly what we're trying to aim for. We also asked individuals such as parents from home, siblings and the people who starred in the video. These were male and female, so there was a wide variety of age and gender. This was to go outside of our target audience and get a different outlook, as well as seeing what everyone really thinks of it. Another method we used was teacher viewings. This again is a different age range, so it was another different outlook. We uploaded our rough cuts to YouTube and Vimeo, and then set the settings to public so people can comment and leave feedback. We also posted a link to our final cut on YouTube and a new thread on the official Robbie Williams fan site for all the Robbie fans to comment. On rough cut 1 we got a lot of feedback, and some of it was as follows. Lots of shakiness in the camera, which we did know about, but we wanted to see if it was as obvious as we thought it would be, and it was. Nathan grabbing Katie's bum needs to be quicker. Josh's hands are way too wavy in the drive-in scene. The scenes need to be quicker and flow better. The child had blonde hair, but we said that people, when they're growing up, in reality, don't necessarily have to have the same hair. So in normal life it won't change colour, so why should we not change the colour just to fit in? Don't keep the scenes in a linear sequence. That's probably the main feedback we got that actually made a big difference. Cut the youngest kids to a high note. Match up certain parts of the lyrics to the appropriate scenes, such as the oldest dinner to a darker, sadder bit of the song. More performance of Robbie singing. Transitions need to be a lot smoother. Need performance footage and fade into one another to signify them growing up. For our first ever feedback, we definitely put it to good use throughout all of our rough cuts. For example, the shakiness was a big problem and still was up to rough cut 6, so we are very aware from the offset due to the feedback. Although we didn't agree with all of it, because such as Josh's hands being too wavy in the driving scene, we did plan it to be like that to show him encouraging Zoe, and it was obvious what he was doing. So we decided to keep that in. One of the main issues we knew we would have is the colour of all the different hairs. Our argument was that when the children are growing up, their hair changes as well, so it is natural and created for similitude. But towards the end, in my opinion, the final cut can be interpreted in different ways. It always will be, to any different audience. Not necessarily the way we want it to be, but just as long as they know they're growing up in love, it doesn't matter if they think it's the same person or not. The feedback we got about the opening sequence was that it didn't really work as the people in the frames, because they're not lined up in the correct position. This is because they were filmed on different days and the lighting was also different. This meant that we had to improvise with what we had and just change the opacity on each frame to blend them together more. We were told that we didn't need to film any more footage, which showed that we had filmed enough and the quality was high. The linear sequence didn't work, so we mixed up the footage, and the performance is too long, so we added layering to them to break it up. Our Digipack Rough Cut 2, the feedback we got was that Jack needs to be in a suit without trainers and wearing smart shoes. The bench pictures are more country rather than pop, and it's too dark. It needs to be a cheeky smile but not a full-on cheesy one. Change the name to Regeneration so it links better. The old-fashioned writing doesn't suit the pop genre. The barcode needs to be smaller. So after taking all this into consideration, we decided to make all the changes. This feedback really helped us produce a better product, especially the decision to change the images. The images we changed were from the benches to Jack leaning against the lamppost, and they work a lot better. All the feedback we got for the Digipacks is that change the DVD to exclusive performance session as Live at Knebworth already has its own DVD release. A Greatest Hits already exists by Robbie Williams, so add a date. In general, Robbie's albums have around 19 tracks listed on the back, so add more. Neaten up the edges of the present in the middle panels. Change the layout of the images to make the present look more 3D from the panels. All the way through the process of making the Digipack, we took on board all the aspects of feedback. This is shown through all the different rough cuts of the Digipacks up to our final product, which wouldn't be as good without all the feedback. Our magazine Rough Cut 1, get a more interesting font, sizing and proportion doesn't match, the presentation of the date, change the layout of Robbie and the Regeneration by using only Robbie instead of Robbie Williams, add a list of his number ones. We don't need to change the image of the Digipack itself because there is a clear connection. In this case, with Robbie leaning on the one which has been replaced by the lamppost that is seen in the Digipack. Again, we listened to the feedback and changed everything, especially the background and layout. It really did improve our magazine ad. Though all the feedback we got for our magazine just to surname and share the R between the Robbie and the Regeneration. The text needs to be altered so it represents pop genre. Think about the format of the date. Some of the wording used in the magazine ad needed to be changed. The things that we thought about and added or altered for our final magazine ad. We agreed with what had been said and feel that now the text has been improved after the suggestions, and without the audience feedback our product wouldn't have been as good. The feedback for all our video rough cuts were that the shots were way too long up till Rough Cut 4. This is when we started cutting them down because we now had performance footage to fill it. Most of the feedback, they said to change the MP3 version of the song as it is not full quality. We did this for our final cut. Shaky footage was a big problem throughout, as the angles we wanted meant we couldn't always use a tripod, which therefore affected the quality of our work. Layering the performance was also said a lot in our feedback sessions. We did this for our final cut, which looks a lot more interesting and more effective, and it links the performance with the narrative. Not every scene is set to the right time period. This was hard to do as it was hard to find the things from the different eras. We tried our best to remove all the objects that might suggest the time period was different than it was, but we made a mistake using a Blackberry. The parts throughout the song when the lyric is "she's the one" should be focused on one or three of the girls at all time. We eventually changed this for our final cut and now it does look more effective. Overall, for each individual product we received feedback. Most of this was useful and we used when re-editing our products, but there were some aspects we didn't agree with, such as the driving scene. I think as far as age range and gender go, I think we've covered a wide variety. From 14-year-olds to 50-year-olds. This gave us different outlooks, but I think if we were to do it again I would explore different ways of receiving feedback. For example, social networking websites and visiting different places which have different ages, such as even if we go to an old people's home or something like that, it'll get a different outlook. The most useful feedback came from the class sessions with other A2 media students and teachers. This was because they were doing the same thing and knew what they were talking about, and they could give us editing tips, etc., because they were using the same software themselves and might have picked up little tips. Me and Gina started off with a strong vision of what we wanted it to be like. At first, we were reluctant to change it, but realised it was the best option we had and gave us better quality piece.